Hey there everybody, this video is going to look at solving equations using the distributive property. Alright, so how do you know when you have to use distributive property? Well, you're going to see first of all the brackets, okay, or parentheses if you want to call them. And then you're going to see an operation completed inside those brackets. By operation I mean subtraction, addition, multiplication, division, okay? And then you're going to see a number sitting outside of the brackets, and this means to multiply, okay? And what we have to do when we're using the distributive property is first multiply the first number, okay? So 4 times 3x. So in step 2 of this equation, we're just bringing down the 13 equals. We're just rewriting that. And we're saying 4 times 3x gives us 12x, okay? And the next step is we do the one next to it. So we're doing 4 times 3x and then 4 times negative 7. Okay, so 4 times negative 7, that's going to give us a negative 28, and then we're left with a plus 5 over here. We're not going to do anything with that. So all we did in step 1 here was we said 4 times 3 and 4 times negative 7. Okay, so we're left with this equation. Now the next thing we're going to do here is just proceed as per usual when solving our equation here for x. First we're going to group up our constant numbers here on this side of the equal sign, and then we'll move them over across here, okay? So um, first thing I'm going to do is negative 28 plus 5, and of course that's going to give me a negative 23. That's where that comes from, okay? And this 13 and 12 we just brought down. So now we're left with 13 equals 12x minus 23. So now we need to isolate the variable, which is just fancy math words for saying get the x by itself. In order to do that, we're first going to get rid of our constant here. So it's a negative 23. So to cancel that out, we need to add 23. And if we add 23 to this side, we must add 23 to the left side. Okay, so that's where those numbers come from. And we'll work that out. You're going to see that those cancel each other out. So we're going to be left with just 12x equals 36. Okay, so 12x equals 36, and then we're going to, of course, divide by 12 to get rid of this 12 here because we just want the x. So we're going to divide by 12 here on the right. Therefore, we must divide by 12 on the left. Our 12s are going to cancel out there, and we're going to be left with x equals 3. Now, if you want to see if your answer is done correctly, all I'm doing here is taking this 3 and plugging it back in the equation here. Okay, so you would say 3 times 3 right there to double check. Okay, so you can work it out. 3 times 3 is 9, and then we work in our brackets first and do our takeaways, follow our order of operations, right, your bed mass. So 4 times 2, and that's going to give us 8 plus 5 equals 13. So I'm going to be left with 13 equals 13. So if your left side equals your right side, you know you've done your equation properly. Let's look at another quick example here. So 3y plus 6 outside of our brackets, y minus 2 equals 24. So again, we're going to have to use the distributive property and first times 6 by y and then 6 by negative 2. When we do that, we see that we get 6 times y is 6y. 6 times a negative 2 gives us negative 12. That's all we had to do for step 1. Then we can start grouping up our y's, and 3y plus 6y gives us 9y. And then we'll move our constants, right? We want to isolate this y. So to get rid of this negative 12, we're going to add 12. We add 12 to the left, we must add 12 to the right. Our 12s are going to cancel out here on the left-hand side, and we're going to be left with 9y equals 36. And then when you have a number attached to a letter like that, okay, this is called a coefficient, this is called a variable. When they're like that and you need to separate them just to get y, you must divide. So we're going to divide by 9. 9s will cancel out on the left side, and we'll be left with y equals 4. All right, I'll do one more example just for some repetition here. So again, we're going to see that we're going to need to use the distributive property here. Um, so we're going to do that first. So 6 times m gives us 6m. 6 times a negative 4 gives us a negative 24. Everything else we're just writing. Now we're going to pair up our m's. So 6, and remember, when you take a number like this, it's not 6 plus 2. You take the symbol of the operation next to it. Okay, if that was a plus 2, I would say 6 plus 2 is 8. But in this case, it's 6 minus 2. Okay, so we're going to be left with 4m there. Okay, now we can work with our constants. add 24 to this side because we want to isolate this, and we add 24 to that side. On the right side, of course, those are going to cancel, and we left with 48 equals 4m. And of course, if we want to split up our number and letter attached together, the only way to do that is divide. We're going to divide by 4. So we divide by 4 on the right, therefore we must do it on the left, and we're going to be left with m equals 12. So those are just 3 examples of the distributive property for you guys. Please work in your workbook this week up to page, I believe it's 151. Yeah, page 148 to 151, and that's going to help you before you take this week's quiz. And if you need any more help, definitely come see me. That's all for this week, guys. Take care.